This is QTV News and I am Janjanbureh. Thank you for joining us. First, the headlines. The International Court of Justice today heard Myanmar's initial response to Gambia's case filed against it for its alleged genocide against the Rohingya Muslims. After much deliberation, National Assembly members on Wednesday passed the Appropriation Bill for the upcoming fiscal year. One of a group of alleged serial rapists has been arrested and is now in police custody. And we get to hear some of what residents of Janjanbureh had to say as the Constitutional Review Commission's tour reached their area. Those are our top stories, and now the news in detail. Stay with us. Myanmar's de facto leader has denied allegations of her country being responsible for genocidal intent against the Rohingya Muslims in her country. Aung San Suu Kyi led the defense team on Wednesday before judges at the International Court of Justice in The Hague in response to Gambia's opening submissions from the previous day. QTV's Mamadou Lamin Choi has been monitoring the court proceedings, and this is his report.
A Nobel Peace Laureate's country is today standing trial at the International Court of Justice to answer to genocide allegations leveled against the security personnel of that country, with her leading the defense of the very military she was once a victim of. Aung San Suu Kyi surprisingly choosing to lead the defense team in response to the charges filed by the Gambia, denies allegations of genocidal intent against her country, saying that if the military had committed such acts, they would be prosecuted before Myanmar's domestic courts. However, most analysts suggest that Aung San Suu Kyi has no control over the Myanmar military in a country where the army is seen as still being very much in real control.
Regrettably, the Gambia has placed before the court an incomplete and misleading factual picture of the situation in Rakhine State in Myanmar. Yet, it is of the utmost importance that the court assess the situation obtaining on the ground in Rakhine dispassionately and accurately.
Suu Kyi asked that solving the challenges her country is confronted with through the local judicial system should come first. The embattled leader informed the court that investigations of possible crimes are ongoing in her country, which is yet to be completed.
If the impression takes hold that only resource-rich countries can conduct adequate domestic investigations and prosecutions, and that the domestic justice of countries still striving to cope with the burden of unhappy legacies and present challenges cannot be made good enough. The Gambia will also understand this challenge with which they too are confronted.
She also expressed her government's commitment to exhaust domestic judicial processes to solve the present challenges they are faced with international partners in such efforts, especially the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Aung San Suu Kyi claimed her government is committed to what she described as safe and dignified repatriation of the displaced Rohingya Muslim refugees in Bangladesh.
There may also have been failures to prevent civilians from looting or destroying property after fighting or in abandoned villages. But these are determinations to be made in the due course of the criminal justice process, not by any individual in the Myanmar government. Please bear in mind this complex situation and the challenge to sovereignty and security in our country when you are assessing the intent of those who attempted to deal with the rebellion. Surely, under the circumstances, genocidal intent cannot be the only hypothesis.
The Gambia had filed a lawsuit in the UN's highest court against Myanmar, asking judges to grant, effectively, a restraining order as an urgent measure to put Myanmar under an international legal obligation to give protection to the Rohingya Muslims, pending the final verdict of the court. Counsels for Myanmar argued that the Gambia's application does not indicate concrete evidence of genocidal intent that the court can rely on to grant a provisional measures order in the case.
Should the court agree that there is ample support for an alternative explanation, then it cannot but conclude that the application has no reasonable chance of success on the merits. Not a 50% chance, not a 25% chance, no chance. If there's a reasonable alternative explanation for the intent behind the alleged acts, then the application simply cannot succeed. And if it cannot succeed, it is not plausible for the purposes of a request for provisional measures.
Gambia's council's arguments on Tuesday had referenced several UN reports emerging from independent investigations, which the councils believe are enough evidence to convince the world's court that genocide had been committed by Myanmar. The second round of oral observations between the Gambia and Myanmar begins and ends tomorrow, when both countries will be given 90 minutes to submit final arguments as to whether the court should act with urgency to issue a restraining order to Myanmar until a verdict is given. For many international observers, the case is not being seen in simple terms of Gambia versus Myanmar, but as one that has already done much to taint the image and legacy of Aung San Suu Kyi as a defender of human rights, and may explain why she has chosen to take center stage in defense of her country as much as her name. Mahmoud Lamin Choi for QTV News.
National Assembly members on Wednesday passed the Appropriation Bill for the upcoming fiscal year, giving government the authorization to implement the budget. Aliou Cisse was following the proceedings and he now reports.
The Appropriation Bill, having been considered with amendments, was unanimously passed by members of the Parliament, having been tabled for scrutiny and approval by the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Mamburinjai. The total appropriation for 2020 budget is $21 billion. Deputies thoroughly scrutinized the budgets for the different ministries to determine and establish the actual allocation to each.
The total appropriation in the sum of $21,285,596,894 stand part of the bill. Question that the report of the Committee of Supply on the Appropriation Bill 2020 be adopted. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it.
Finance and Economic Affairs Minister Mamburinjai, speaking to QTV after the session, said he was happy that the bill has been passed by the lawmakers.
This is part of the checks and balance of any system of government. I think what it has demonstrated is that the legislative, the judiciary, and the executive can work together. What we have been doing, burning the midnight candle, the other day we met from 10 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. the following day. I think the partnership, the trust, and the confidence has increased. I think what we should continue to do is the communication and the collaboration. I think I salute the National Assembly members. Mixed feeling in the sense that we are not endowed with a lot of resources. We want to do a lot more in the productive sector. That's the mixed feeling I said. We want to do a lot, but then we have to cut our coat according to our size. So the salutation really goes to the National Assembly, in particular, the Speaker of the National Assembly. I think she did a tremendous amount of work in terms of coordinating, in terms of making sure there is stability and moving forward.
He said the budget will be a useful tool in the drive to achieve and sustain macroeconomic stability and the government's primary objective of reducing poverty and improving basic service delivery for all.
I've seen is the sectors, social sectors, but what has really come out is this issue of the health insurance. I think it has never happened in the history of this country. And the emergency community projects that we will now be doing will be making sure the deficit areas in terms of water, in terms of access to electricity, will definitely, the most vulnerable will be targeted to make sure that they have access to, it becomes like a human rights, the health and the issue of water. I think this is anchored on, it's a poverty budget. And I think the revelations and the allocations that we've seen is really pro-poor.
Now that the appropriation bill is passed, it has to be assented to into an act for it to become lawful for the government to implement it. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
One of the alleged serial rapists, who it is claimed lured women into a taxi before kidnapping, robbing and raping them, has been arrested by the police. As he was paraded before the media during a police briefing, the 24-year-old taxi driver appeared to show no remorse. Mam Jara Acisse tells us more.
A 24-year-old taxi driver, Ismail Ndong, who was arrested on Monday, has been accused of alleged rape, robbery, and kidnapping by 11 women. He is currently being detained at the anti-crime unit of the Gambia Police Force. The PRO of the Gambia Police Force, ASP Lamin Jai, says the police received several complaints about the taxi driver, and when he was arrested, 9 of the victims identified Ismaila as the culprit.
About 11 victims have been invited to the anti-crime unit here, and so far, having taken them through the standard procedures of identification, 9 of them are able to identify this individual, Ismail Ndong, as the person who was involved in the kidnap, violent extortion, and rape. And so far, we've got about 8 individuals that have said they've got raped, and also we have 2 individuals that are unable to identify him though, but then police at this juncture have started expanding the investigation to see to it that possibly most of the narratives are such that when this thing was happening, it wasn't him alone that was in the vehicle. It was there were some accomplices in the vehicle as well. So the police are expanding their investigation to be able to get to those individuals that might be with the suspect.
He further urged the general public to be observant, vigilant with taxi drivers, especially at night.
Especially women who goes out in the night, to be very vigilant when it comes to their dealing with taxi drivers. They should be very vigilant such that they take note of taxi drivers' registration numbers and be able to identify marks and models of vehicles. For example, if it is a Peugeot, a 190 Benz, or a Toyota, or any kind of model of vehicle that you are entering, at least you should be mindful and vigilant enough to take notice of that, because those will be very useful information for the police, suppose anything happens.
Superintendent Mamadou Sow, Deputy Commander of the Gambia Police Force Anti-Crime Unit, has this to say.
Are going around. They are only capitalizing on some of these opportunities they got. Once you are going out, you know that you are going alone. Don't go out with very valuable things, especially these expensive jewelries. They will attract criminals to attack you. So whenever you are going out at a very lonely place, you should not put on those very expensive jewelries like gold rings and other things, because it will attract criminals to attack you. But let me make assured that to the general public that anti-crime is here to fight against crime. Any information that you got, make sure that we get the information, we will fight. We don't want anybody to get scared to move out at any time in the Gambia. Anywhere you feel like it's a place that criminals used to harbor and attack people, let us know it. We will make sure that it is a place that everybody can move in without being scared.
The accused man lives at New Street in Banjul and is alleged to have carried out crimes in Bakau and Kanifing. He was arrested on Monday night while driving a Benz taxi, registration number BJL 4176R. The Gambia Police Force urged other possible victims to come forward for identification, while the search for Ndong's alleged accomplices continues. Reporting for QTV News, I am Mam Jara Acisse.
We will go with a short commercial break, and when we return, we find out about the YMCA's Peace and Security Conference and what residents of Janjanbureh had to say as the Constitutional Review Commission's tour reached their area. Stay tuned.
10 years. For 10 years, we have worked to deliver world-class products and services. For 10 years, we have cultivated a reputation of excellence and quality. For 10 years, we have strived to support our people and our culture. With a history of quality behind us, and the present-day drive to be the best, we continue to forge ahead towards a future of growth. As a quality network you trust, we have worked to ensure stability, innovation, and distinction. QCELL, a decade of innovation, a lifetime of trust. Are you traveling to Senegal from Gambia? Guess what? You can now roam in Senegal like never before. Enjoy the most affordable rates on data and your international and local voice and SMS while in Senegal. QCELL and Orange have partnered together to make roaming a breeze. Whenever you roam with your QCELL line to Senegal or travel with your Orange number to Gambia, you get to enjoy a new specially discounted tariff on your data and the calls and texts you send locally and internationally. Don't stress about high costs. QCELL and Orange have got you covered. Whether it's a quick business trip or a family getaway, you know you're connected anywhere and anytime. Terms and conditions apply. For more information, call 111. QCELL, the Gambia's quality network.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV News. A peace and security conference was organized by YMCA The Gambia in partnership with the Finnish YMCA on the theme Active Youth Participation in Peace and Security in the Gambia. Maria Tassar has the rest of that.
This peace conference focused on youth, peace and security issues, prevention of irregular migration and reintegration. John Sinjai, Executive Director of the Gambia YMCA, challenged young people not to allow anyone to use them to compromise this country's peace and security.
I must challenge you. I have been a young man, now I am getting a bit older, but don't allow yourselves to be used for anything that is going to undermine the peace, security and stability of your nation. I know now there is unfortunately a heated debate based on religious lines. I don't think it should have been that, because honestly speaking, I know a lot of non-Christians that have stood for Christians in this country, and we should not have a debate or a fight along religious lines.
Priscilla H.D. Dune, Program Director of YMCA Gambia, explained their work as having a target of reaching out to many irregular migration returnees.
As part of our Work for Peace project, a project funded by the YMCA of Finland through the Foreign Affairs Ministry, the Gambia YMCA has targets of reaching 400 irregular migrant returnees and unemployed young men and women in the targeted communities of Greater Banjul area, West Coast region, and Lower River region, through the following components: livelihood skills training, business startup opportunities, and advocacy.
James Gommans, the Minister of Fisheries and Water Resources, challenged young people to revisit their moral behaviors. He added that the conference is timely as the country is going through a transformation.
After over 50 years of independence, we cannot blame the colonizers for the lack of progress and development. Rather, we must individually and collectively take full responsibility of our future. Chinua Achebe, in his book, Things Fall Apart, said, and I quote, "The problem of Africa is leadership, because we breathe the same air and we drink the same water like our colleagues and friends in Europe. So then it begs the question, therefore, why is Africa the way we are?"
Since its inception in 1979, the Gambia YMCA has been involved in youth-related and development activities. It also has sub-branches in every region of the country. Its overall aim is to continue to help develop youth potential, to empower them with the necessary skills to live and operate in a global context. For QTV News, I am Maria Tussar.
The Constitutional Review Commission Sunday held a day-long consultation in Janjanbureh where residents recommend for the institution of laws that will empower journalists. And Sumana Esonyasi is with the delegation and he files in this report.
As the Commission continues to engage Gambians in the final phase of public consultations on the draft constitution, Residents of Janjanbureh made their submissions to the CRC, expressing their desire for the incorporation of media-friendly laws in the draft constitution. They also want laws that will guarantee freedom of expression. Speaking at the event, Binta Kuyate says journalists should be empowered. She went on to highlight the plight of journalists under the former regime, adding that in order to strengthen democracy, there has to be a strong and free media. Without good laws that will guarantee their freedom, journalists will continue to suffer. We have all witnessed how they were treated under the former regime. They have been falsely accused and jailed for merely doing their work. That should be history now. Let's empower journalists, because without them, we will all be in the dark. If one is uninformed, you are at a great risk. For Pasane, he wants the media to be empowered so that members of the public can easily access information. He also commented on other issues such as rape and murder. For me, all sectors are important, but my submission is that anyone who kills intentionally or commits a rape should be executed by law. Also, journalists play an important role in our society, so let's empower them. Sana Sidibe, also a resident of Janjanbureh, says he wants media-friendly laws. However, he adds that he is more concerned with the appointment of the IEC chairman. He wants the IEC chairman to be recommended by the president and approved by parliament.
The chairman of IBEC will be appointed by the president and approved by the parliament. And the duration of their service is 14 years. Before the expiration of the 14 years, who is going to remove him?
Students of Armitage Senior Secondary School also made their submissions regarding various sections of the draft constitution. Ansumana Isonyasi for QTV News.
The Gambia Horse and Donkey Trust on Saturday held its annual Horse and Donkey Show at the Birkama SSP grounds in the West Coast region. The event promotes and educates people on animal welfare. Manjara ACC reports again.
Every year, usually in December, the Gambia Horse and Donkey Trust holds an annual Horse and Donkey Show for the local people to compete for prizes against others from their local community. The show is an opportunity to reward horse and donkey owners for taking care of their working animals. Heather Armstrong, Managing Director of the Gambia Horse and Donkey Trust, says that for various reasons, animal welfare has greatly improved in the Gambia.
First show that we had was in 2006, and at that show it was really very hard to find one animal that really deserved a prize because they were in such poor condition. Over the years, things have changed, and now today you'll see some beautiful, beautiful horses and donkeys. And this is due to many things. Growing awareness. Some of our children who we taught in schools have now grown up and are doing their bit. But the most important thing of all, I think, in the last 3 or 4 years has been the development of the animal advocates.
The General Manager for the Gambia Horse and Donkey Trust, Lang Baba Sise, says many people do not know how to take care of their animals. He added that farmers sometimes use their animals for work without feeding them.
At the end of the farming, they take the hay, sell it, benefit themselves, forget them. So at the end, before another rain season, the 3/4 of them will be died because of hunger.
British High Commissioner to the Gambia, Sharon Waddell, explains the efforts they are making to help young people interested in animal welfare.
We're a tiny team, but I hope that me standing here talking to you about animal welfare sends out a very strong signal that I, British government, and especially the British people care passionately about the welfare of animals, and that's why we see amazing volunteers like those from the British Veterinary Association coming over here to give their time to educate, but also to provide health care for the animals.
Jaliba Kuyate, a famous musician, urged people to stop maltreating animals because they also served in the development of the country.
These living beings, when you hit them
with your big sticks, wound them, they cannot stand there to cry, to shed tears, to say, "Whoa, you have done something bad to me." So it's really, really very sorrowful.
At the end of the show, prizes were given to deserving animal owners deemed to have taken good care of their animals. Certificates were also awarded to those who worked tirelessly for the welfare of animals. The event was attended by dignitaries including Dr. Keba Dafe, lecturer at the University of the Gambia, and Dr. Abdul Sise, the director of the Department of Livestock. The competition is meant to advocate and raise awareness for the rights of animals, which include freedom from hunger and thirst, discomfort, injury, fear, distress, and freedom to express normal behaviors which should be respected and observed by everyone. Reporting for QTV News, I am Mamyara ACC.
Before we end this news bulletin, let's recap our main headlines. The International Court of Justice today heard Myanmar's initial response to Gambia's case filed against it for its alleged genocide against the Rohingya Muslims. After much deliberation, National Assembly members on Wednesday passed the Appropriation Bill for the upcoming fiscal year. One of a group of alleged serial rapists has been arrested and is now in police custody. And we heard some of what residents of Janjanbureh had to say as the Constitutional Review Commission's tour reached their area. That is all we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Join us same time tomorrow for more news. Thanks for watching.